Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, Wednesday afternoon, you look up and Luke Fickell getting an extension with the Wisconsin Badgers. I think 3 days ago, we were just having a conversation about coaches on the hot seat going into 2025. And Dill, Luke Fickell was on my list. Now, look, was I ready to fire Luke Fickell after a disappointing year in 2024? No, I was not. But I was willing to accept that he was on the hot seat. What frustrates me the most here is that what has he done to earn an extension in Madison, Wisconsin? And I get there's some Wisconsin fans who are familiar with how Wisconsin runs things with the athletic department. You get that annual extension if you quote deemed satisfactory performance. My problem with this is what about the job that Luke Fickell did in 2024? What about that was satisfactory to this Wisconsin program? That's where I kind of struggle with it. And the two reasons you give coaches extensions are one, because they've been doing a good job, which it's hard to make that argument Luke Fickell has. And then secondly, it's if other programs are kind of sniffing around. And I don't think there were any programs that were sniffing around hiring Luke Fickell after the 2024 year. Now, there are some pros that I want to get into in terms of why you might buy stock in Luke Fickell. There are also plenty of question marks that we have. Want to get into both sides of that before we do. And as always, and I think most importantly, Dale, to the Wisconsin fans, man, y'all let it fly in the comment section. I am very, very intrigued in terms of what the Wisconsin fans are feeling about this Wednesday afternoon, because I know a lot of y'all that we talked to, Luke Fickell was on the hot seat for y'all. Dale, I'm going to give you the T-box, though. Luke Fickell extended in Madison. How are we feeling about it?
Yeah, I don't totally understand it either. And it really does start with yeah, you can maybe make the argument that this was going to be a long rebuild, but I don't think Paul Chris totally left him in shambles. I
See,
mean,
the thing is, can I jump? So like, it wasn't a rebuild in Wisconsin. It was to me, it was like a rebrand. It was like, all right, Paul Chryst was a very, very damn solid head football coach that was probably going to allow Wisconsin to win 8 or 9 games. But was Wisconsin ever going to get over the hump and win a Big Ten championship and compete for college football playoff spots? The answer was probably not under Paul Chryst.
and
And
that's
so
why 5-7 is just not good enough. And you said it, Paul Chris didn't leave this program barren. He just had it in a midline, like, okay, we're just going to be Iowa, and that's going to be comfortable and fine. Wisconsin took their shot, and for I don't want to say it's been regression, but it feels a little bit like regression. Like they don't play as well along the lines of scrimmage as I would have thought. They lose a lot of guys in the portal. It feels like year after year, much more than I think you'd want to see.
agreed.
He has started to recruit high school a little bit better, but I do feel like right now the cons are outweighing the pros a little bit. If I'm just
That is probably what I agree with, and I guess we can get to the cons before we get to the pros. You're just waking up feeling negative today. Dill, the cons, I think one is he clearly has not earned it. Number two for me is that there was regression from his first year to his second year, and you look at all the things that Wisconsin was known for under Paul Chryst, really known for as a program: running the football, stopping the run, getting after the passer. You start looking at those metrics and say, Dill, Wisconsin was 103rd in turnover margin in 2024. When's the last time Paul Chryst had a Wisconsin? I don't. You could go back and look at it. I would feel pretty confident that Wisconsin was never 103rd in turnover margin in the country. They allowed 4.6 yards per carry this year. That was 88th in the country. They only sacked the quarterback 4.5% of the time. That was 115th in the country. Have not had an 1,000-yard rusher for this Wisconsin offense his first 2 years at Wisconsin. And so I guess my frustration is Luke Fickell came in and said, yeah, we're going to modernize some things, specifically on the offensive side of the football, and I was okay with that. But he also said that he was not going to lose that Wisconsin identity going into 2025. Dill, what about this Wisconsin team that we saw in 2024 was that Wisconsin identity?
and frankly, like Wisconsin's identity, like they can't lose it unless he's going to start recruiting. Like again, like he's kind of getting them into the top 25 or kind of hovering around there.
Yeah.
Like that's better than what it was for sure. But if you're not going to recruit well into the top 20s, like you can't be, I think, just a team that can't be physical and play the way Wisconsin used to play. And it just looks like right now they haven't been able to play that style of football, and that's been really disappointing.
So we got into the cons, right? And to me, just to sum up the cons, it's just like there's nothing. You have a ton of question marks about the direction of this program under Luke Fickell. It just doesn't feel like the Wisconsin team that we're used to seeing as Big Ten fans ourselves following this conference for the last 20 years of our lives. Pros. If I were to defend this move by Wisconsin, of which I am not trying to do, it is, hey, we knew this wasn't going to be a 1-2 year. We're going to snap our fingers and Wisconsin is going to be competing for national championships or competing for college football playoff spots. This wasn't just a new head coach coming into the program. To me, I viewed this as a rebrand. Paul Chryst would keep his job for 40 plus years with that performance he had at Wisconsin. He was not a bad head coach for them. What Wisconsin was trying to do was, hey, we want to go take that next step as a program. We want to change philosophically how we're going to look in some ways. That was going to take more than 2 years because not only is it a brand new coaching staff with a brand new culture, it was, you need different personnel for Wisconsin to do the things that Luke Fickell and Phil Longo, who's no longer there, wanted to do. And so I'm not exactly pressing the panic button because you're right, Luke Fickell, top 25 class in the 2025 recruiting cycle, also had a top 15 transfer portal class. I do think in a lot of ways, the talent acquisition might be going in the right direction for Wisconsin. So if you were kind of defending it, I guess that's where it would start, was like, hey, we knew that it wasn't going to be a snap your fingers type thing. He went 4-8 his first year at Cincinnati, 11-2 the next year, and it was kind of off to the races. So I'm okay.
It's also a little less forgivable to take this long, if you will, and especially the regression, like whether it takes long, like, again, when you come in and make the money Luke Fickell's making and you're kind of thought into be, or you are brought in to be like a big time coach, it's like you said it with the portal era, you can turn teams around a little bit faster. And it just doesn't, again, do you feel like this team's even going to be a 6+ win team this year? Like they're probably gonna be hovering right around that again, at least from what I'm kind of seeing. Like, I don't know what green shoots you're looking at aside from, again, you're losing good players into the portal too. Yeah, but guys are coming in, but like Will Pauling leaving, not okay. James Thompson leaving, I don't love that. Tawi Walker even, like, I don't love the kind of portal exits they have as much as they bring some good players in. Like, are you building a culture that I think Luke Fickell can win in? I don't really see that. I feel like he needs to be able to get guys into the program, develop them, and like send them on their way, if you will. But it does feel a little bit like a revolving door, and I just don't think he can win that way. It's not.
And I think the one of the last things you might say here, Dylan, I have to look it up real quick just because I didn't want to be wrong here. You're paying Luke Fickell a hell of a lot more money to go 5-7. And he's getting paid $7.5 million a year. It's more than Billy Napier at Florida. It's more than Mike Elko at Texas A&M. It's more than Hugh Freeze at Auburn. You're paying him a lot of money to come in and win football games. How are we extending that? Is probably where we both kind of agree.
You probably don't like want the gap to be so wide against like Nebraska, for example, because I see that as almost a perfect comp for where Wisconsin can be, and you go get your doors blown off by that team this year. Like, again, there's just some concerning things I think so far. Like you said it, like, yeah, the fact that more talent is coming into the building is certainly encouraging, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you don't win games. And like,
yeah, and that's how I'll sum it up. Like I'm not. You sound like you were like down and out on Luke Fickell. And look, I don't necessarily blame people for taking that approach. I'm not down and out on Luke Fickell. Like I knew it wasn't going to be 2 years and and they were going to be winning the Big Ten championship. But man, I just don't understand the logic with extending him. We'll see how it turns out. This seems like, and this 1 year extension, I don't think takes him off the hot seat, if we're being honest. If it does not get better in 2025, I do think you might see Luke Fickell looking for a job after this year. We'll pause it there. Wisconsin fans, let it fly in the comment section. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.